Entertainment Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 3, and my thoughts on this episode. Well, it wasn't a good episode, and unfortunately, I think it's a blueprint for the rest of this season. It was slow, there were people making stupid decisions, and again, it was full of SJW politics, especially the last scene, which makes no sense since that couldn't happen in that part of the world because of certain laws. If you're American, I think you'll know this more than I would, but I know somewhat about American politics that this would definitely not happen. I'll get into that in spoilers, but the ending of this episode, really ridiculous. Anyway, so the problem with this episode is it feels rushed, and they keep trying to tell a political point in a lot of places, which is ridiculous. And also, they're copying other better Star Trek films. So they've stopped copying the shows now, they've just gone straight to films. So this show is basically going to be a copy of The Voyage Home and First Contact. Great fucking films, by the way. I mean, First Contact has its problems, but A Voyage Home, amazing film. But should they be copying these? No, they shouldn't. And unfortunately, they're going to ruin it. And this episode is pretty much just the proof. Because they're not going to try to respect Star Trek. They're not going to try to, have just funny episodes. They're just going to try to put politics in every bit of it. And it is so bloody unfortunate. Because you could actually have a fun time with this concept of going back to 2024 and looking around and seeing how the world is now and then showing it in the future. Like they did in A Voyage Home. Had comedy in it, had serious parts in it, but it just felt like a Star Trek film. This is just not going to be that type of show, unfortunately. It's just going to be weighed down with the politics, which is a massive problem. So again, the episode felt slow. It doesn't feel enjoyable to watch. And again, the politics is just a problem. So I want to get into the spoilers now. I'm going to give it a grade out of 3 out of 10. It wasn't a good episode. And unfortunately, it really is the blueprint for the rest of the series. Unfortunately. So I'm going into the spoilers now. So in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with the security team on the ship with Picard and the crew. And the husband pretty much threatening to kill them because they've stolen the Borg Queen. By the way, did I mention in my last review that the Confederation had destroyed the Borg? Because if the Confederation had destroyed the Borg, are they all that bad? I know people are going to say they're fascists and we should hate them, but they destroyed the Borg. Should we not think that was kind of a good thing? Again, the problem with Star Trek is they keep making the bad guys seem like the good guys, and the good guys keep seeming like the bad guys. Actually, I don't think that's just Star Trek. I think that's like everything in Hollywood right now. They keep making the good guys look bad and the bad guys look good. Anyway, so they've been on the ship. The husband is threatening the crew and pretty much figures out that Seven is not his wife and gives her a question because she tries to, trick him into thinking this is some sort of plan that she's set up for the Confederation, but he pretty much figures out that she's lying. He asks her a simple question, what's his full name? She can't answer it. So he prepares to shoot her, but Seven grabs his phaser. Then Picard and the rest of them start fighting with the security officers. One of the security officers fires off his phaser. It hits Lego Boy, and he's pretty much out of the fight. but the crew manages to overpower the security team, kills the security team, and Seven kills her husband. At least I think it was Seven. It could have been Raffi, but I don't really know. So they've pretty much figured out that they're going to be attacked by the Confederation ships. The Confederation ships send 2 Nova-class cruisers and 1, what was it called? A Star Runner cruiser as well to hunt them down. But Raffi's dealing with Lego Boy because he's dying, because he's been shot. She gets him to the med lab and tries to save him. But, what's her name again? But Agnes has to deal with the Queen because the ship's been attacked by the fleet and the ship can't hold them back because the ship's not as that, well, it's not that powerful. So Agnes hooks up the Borg Queen to the ship, and the Borg Queen then uses some sort of Borg technology to strengthen I forgot what the ship's called, but Raffi's ship, and manages to fire 2 Borg torpedoes into the 2 Confederation ships. Now, the problem with this is this Confederation have beat the Borg. So how could the Queen's weapons even penetrate 2 ships? I mean, the Steam Runner is one of the Federation's most powerful ships, and if this time it's just a copy of the Federation, then a Confederation Steam Runner should be as powerful, and they can handle Borg, torpedoes. So again, having a one-shot kill on these ships, it was ridiculous, but it works. They get to the sun, the Queen then says some random crap, and then they go into warp, and then we kind of get like a crappier scene of the voyage home when they go around the sun and they all blank out for a little bit. They go back in time, and Agnes tells them they've arrived in the 21st century, and Picard asks them to make sure that it is the 21st century, and nobody says look at the stars. Again, you're fucking explorers. That should be the first thing to come to your mind, because the stars move when time, and if you go back in time, the stars would move again, wouldn't they? So why not just look at the stars? And it would be a callback to other times Star Trek has done this, which was unfortunate they didn't do in this episode. So the ship's still damaged from the attack from the Confederation, and they get caught in the Earth's gravity. Now, this is the 21st century. Obviously, America would have scanning devices that would pick this ship up. How the fuck nobody mentioned that on this ship when it crash lands is beyond stupid to me. Because the ship goes in the Earth's atmosphere, it crashes somewhere in Los Angeles, and everybody's just fine with it. And nobody thinks to say, what if the Americans find us? What if the government finds us? It's like, how can you not give this ship some sort of cloak just for the sake of the fucking story? You can't just have a ship out there with no cloak, no protection. It's just there, and all the Americans have to do is scan for it, and they'll find it. Again, we can detect fucking asteroids coming to Earth and see where they're landing. How the fuck did nobody pick up a fucking ship crash landing? It's insane to me. So the Borg Queen is dying at the same time, so is Lego Boy. And Raffi's going insane, asking for more power to save his life. But Picard says they can't because they need the Queen more, because she knows what they need to do to fix the timelines. And again, you do realise fixing the timelines means helping the Borg. I know that we have to fix the timeline, but that's gonna bug me all the way through this series. I know it is. Because in one way you are helping the Borg, and in another way you are trusting the Borg, which is stupid. Because we all know she is going to try to contact the Borg. We all know she's going to do that. She's going to try to contact the Borg and try to get the Borg to assimilate Earth earlier so that they can stop the Federation from destroying them because of Janeway and that, which is so annoying because you know they're going to do that. And anyway, so Lego Boy and Raffi have a moment with each other, and Raffi is trying to save his life, but unfortunately he's dying. He knows he's dying, and he has to do some sort of religious ceremony with her, with some sort of necklace that he has. That's a religious thing on Romulus, and unfortunately he dies. And Raffi takes this hard. Unfortunately, I couldn't give a shit because we all know he's not dead. Because once they fix the timelines, he'll be back to life. So it's kind of, I know a lot of people are going to say it's kind of heartless, but come on, he's not dead. He's obviously going to survive, and be in the next season of fucking Picard. I don't know why they killed him off this early, but who fucking knows. So, Lego Boy dies, and Raffi takes this pretty badly. She starts blaming Picard because he wanted to save the Borg Queen. But again, it kind of makes sense since the Borg Queen's the one who knows all the information about fixing the timeline. So, again, she's worth more than Lego Boy. I'm sorry but that's fact. So Raffi's mad at Picard, and Picard's trying to get them to sort themselves out and kind of move on with the mission, which is to fix the timeline and stop the Confederation from becoming a thing. So he sends Raffi, Seven, and Rios to Los Angeles to look for the Watcher, which it turns out there is an alien on Earth who shouldn't be there, who they need to find, who can help them fix the timeline. And he and Agnes is going to stay and try to fix the Borg Queen. Another stupid decision. Why is Agnes staying with the Borg Queen when you have 7 or fucking 9 who was a Borg for most of her fucking life, who would know everything you need to know about dealing with the Borg? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I know why they're doing this, because they want to have a Raffi, Seven, love thing, and they can't do that if she's dealing with the Borg Queen. But again, it doesn't make story sense to have Seven away from the Queen, because she knows what to do with the Queen, and she knows how to handle her if she goes fucking crazy and tries to call the Borg, which she's going to fucking do, unfortunately. So again, it's just a dumb decision. So Agnes beams Raffi, Rio, and Seven to Los Angeles. They don't beam in the same location because the ship hasn't got enough power. And when they beam to the locations, Raffi goes to some sort of homeless place, Seven goes to some park, and Rios gets beamed above some ladder place and just falls down and is injured and unconscious. Raffi then gets, she nearly gets mugged, but she knocks out the mugger, and then takes his wallet, and Seven and finds her. Oh, Seven also beamed in front of a little girl, and the little girl says, "Are you a superhero?" Because it really is 20th century, and people are just that and kids are just that stupid. Again, a kid just saw you beam from nowhere, and you don't think to kind of explain it. Like, I don't know what you'd say, but come on. It's better than to say, "I'm a superhero." Anyway, so Raffi deals with Mugger, Seven catches up to her, and then they make some sort of political point about, fucking homeless people and, rich people on the top. And again, that's not really a world issue, that's kind of a Los Angeles thing, isn't it? Because I think, doesn't Los Angeles have like a shitload of homeless camps? And I think we've seen this before in Star Trek, because Star Trek used to be something that used to predict the future. Because in Deep Space Nine, Sisko and Bashir go back to America because of a transporter accident, and they show, America having ghettos full of poor people. And that was actually how you could actually do that sort of, political stuff, by saying, the rich having too much and the poor being left destitute. And that's how you do it. Unfortunately, in this episode, it's just Raffi trying to make a point and saying, oh, look, there's poor people here and nobody's doing anything. Just help them. Well, that's not really everybody's fault from the time. That's Democrats, isn't it? Because isn't that a Democrat problem? Like everywhere a Democrat is, there's some sort of homeless camp. Again, I'm just saying what I see from that news. And I'm not saying I just look at one side and another. But again, it's a political statement that just does not need to be in an episode. So, Raffi and Seven have to go up to a tower called Mike Rig Tower, so that they can scan for Rios, because they're supposed to meet up together, but as they didn't beam together, they need to get somewhere high to find him. Oh, and to find the Watcher. Back on the ship, Picard and Agnes are trying to figure out how to wake up the Queen. Agnes decides to connect herself to the Borg Queen, and Picard tries to stop her and tries to convince her not to do it, but it's the only way to wake her up. And they needed to wake up to get the information about the Watcher and what screwed up the timeline. So Picard agrees to hook her up to the Borg Queen, but they're going to try to keep her sane by Picard talking to her while she's connected to the Queen, so she's assimilated. Even though that's not how simulation works. I mean, as soon as you put a part of the Queen into Agnes, the Borg drones is going to go inside her, or the nanites is going to go inside her and assimilate her. But that doesn't seem to happen in this episode. It just seems to be a connect to her neck and it's fine, which is really stupid. Anyway, so Agnes and the Borg Queen have some sort of internal fight in Agnes's body, and Picard tries to have this therapy session with Agnes. Agnes going crazy, making jokes, then talking serious, because apparently the Queen is just walking through her mind, and apparently it's like walking through doors into rooms. It was a very odd scene and really not enjoyable to watch. Back with Rio, who's now been taken to I think something called a free clinic, and the person has just taken him to a free clinic because he doesn't want to be taken to a hospital, so he thinks he's illegal, so he's taken him to a free clinic to get him some help, and so he won't be captured by ICE. Oh god, I could tell what was going to happen as soon as Rios was in a free clinic, and it turned out this person was helping people, evade the law. We all knew it was going to happen. It's just annoying. So Rios was unconscious, he's been bleeding, and he drops his badge in the reception for a kid, where a kid grabs it, and Rios is then with the doctor getting, fixed. And the problem with this is Rios is a human from the future who may have ancestors from different races. So that's the problem with his blood. So if a bit of his blood goes somewhere it shouldn't, that could fuck up humanity as well. That's another problem with going back in the past that they don't seem to ever fucking realise. Again, just don't do past shit. There's so many problems with doing past shit. Anyway, we go back to the ship. Agnes has managed to fight off the Queen. She's tapped into her mind, and she's now fixed the Borg Queen and turned her on. The Queen then tries to negotiate with Picard, and she wants the ship. Picard can't give her the ship because he knows what she's planning to do with it. They have this argument back and forth, And then Agnes wakes up and says, "We don't need you. We have all the information we need. We have the location of the Watcher." She gives the codes to Picard under the name "The Shit I Stole from the Boiled Queen." Funny, ha ha ha. No, it's not. And then that's how that scene ends. Rios is there in the clinic getting fixed up by the doctor. The doctor's trying to make sure that he's okay before she lets him go, to make sure he hasn't got percussion, whatever it's called. But he can't really stand up because he's still a bit concussed. And they start talking to each other. Rios tells a story about him and his mother when he was a kid and he was in the academy and he was like the best pilot ever. Normal Star Trek shit, apparently. And then Rios tries to get out of the room to find his badge. Some kids got it. They had this scene between them, which I thought was funny. You know, the kid trying to get him to bribe him to give him the badge back. But I thought it was funny. I just got to say that. I thought it was funny. So the doctor turns out the kid's the doctor's son. She then keeps the badge and tells Rios when he leaves he can get it back. And then that scene pretty much ends. We then go back to Seven and Raffi, who are now at the top of the building after convincing the security guard to let them at the top of the building. They find Rios' signal, but it's making weird noises. Turns out it's the kid messing around with it. That was beforehand, but we're just moving along. And then they decide to go find Rios. Rios is still at the hospital, but it turns out that ice has just turned up out of nowhere and is now banging on the door, and the person in charge of the hospital is trying to get all of the patients out because they're all illegals apparently, and they're all trying to get out. And I thought, now the problem with this scene is, isn't California like a safe haven for people like that? Isn't that ice like banned from that part of the country? Or at least, you know, if they can't really work in the same way they work in other states. And I'm British, I don't really understand your immigration system, but I do understand that there are Democrat places where they're like you're protected from ICE. And wouldn't this city come under that because they're in California, which is a very Democrat city? I have a friend there, they tell me shit. That, you know, ICE can't really work there. So this whole scene is bollocks. And also it's a hospital. Why would you go to the hospital to grab illegals? It seems like so heartless to me. And just like over the top bad. But anyway, Rios realises he can't leave the hospital because he's left his badge there. And again, that's technology that can't be taken, because if that gets out in circulation, it could fuck up the timeline even worse than the Confederation. So he has to get it back. But turns out his disguise that he tries to pull doesn't work, and the ICE agent grabs him, and then he gets taken away to go to an ICE facility where we're probably going to see a lot more SJW bullshit. And that's how the episode ends, with Picard trying to get a hold of Rios with the badge, and then the scene cut into black. Not a good episode. Annoyed that we're going to see a lot more woke shit, and I guess I'm going to miss the first two episodes, because I'm thinking that's the best we're going to get. That's the end of my review. If you'd like to review it, like. If you dislike to review it, dislike, and do comment below. Do think about subscribing if you like my content. Hail to Found a Menace, long live CG, and fuck SJWs. Bye.